Welcome to Bridging Chicago, a podcast that aims to connect our listeners to Chicago's business, community, cultural, and charity leaders.
Hello, and welcome back to the Bridging Chicago podcast. I'm Nathan, and I'm here today joined with Martha Razo and Gabriela Gomez, two of the authors of Business Diva, that was authored by 20 women? 22. Okay, I thought it was 22, and then I was like, I know I'm going to get 22 women, so we have two of them here. And we have heard a lot about your incredible journey, a lot about your past and sort of where you came from. And so today I really want to talk about the book and the business, because I think that is going to be really helpful for people to understand about how this came to be and then about what you're doing out there in the world. And so, Martha, we'll start with you. You at some point had inspiration to write this book and then decided to bring on some amazing women business leaders to help you do it. What, like, when you had the idea and then actually were like, okay, let's make it happen, what were you thinking? What was going on? That had to be like a crazy time for you.
It actually happened at an event. It was Deals and Heels. They do a real estate event here.
Okay.
And one of my friends, Alejandra, she tells me, Martha, I really wanted to be in today's Inspired Latina. That's how most of us really met. And it actually sparked from her because she wanted to be an author. Mm-hmm. And they were no longer doing today's Inspired Latina. Volume 10, which I'm in, was the last one.
Okay.
So she left me with that little seed. I'm like, I don't know the book, Alejandra, but I'm going to create a book so you're in it.
Wow.
I told her that moment. And our event is going to be bigger and more amazing than this event. We were at a huge event.
Yes.
And like, we're going to do something like this, and you're going to be in it. So it didn't even take me 2 weeks. Business Diva came up. I'm like, what do me and Alejandra have in common? Because we're separate industries.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what all these women have in Deals and Heels and in this and with Alejandra and me is business. We are women who had a vision. We have a love or a passion for something, whether it's beauty, hers was cleaning, Gabby's is beauty. We have some that are food, we have real estate, we have finance. I mean, you can name any industry. Yeah. And these are women who took the step. That's the harder thing, the leap, the decision. Like, okay, I love the finances and now I want to help the world understand their finances, for example. So I said, business. Let me find women who are leaders in business in their respective industries. So then that's where that came from. And I thought Business Diva, and it was a back and forth because diva is a difficult word. It's a tricky one because a lot of girls did not like being associated with diva.
Yeah.
And you know why? I thought the problem was that they thought, oh no, I don't want to be a diva because diva comes with a negative association of being aggressive, being dramatic. But no, if you really extract the word diva, it comes from divineness, goddess. And if you combine business, you are a goddess in that respective industry. So then I took that and I'm like, I need to have these girls. And a lot of them did not like Business Diva because they did not like diva. And I figured out why. And this is a problem for many people, not just the authors who were in the book. People do not, they minimize themselves. They don't know how amazing. All of us are mini gods, if you think about it, because we came from a creator, whatever that God you refer to. But we are all mini gods. We are all divine. We are amazing. And this was a great opportunity for me to inspire the girls too, because they didn't accept that they were divas. I'm like, you are a diva. So as they were writing their stories, I know, and you can talk for yourself, Gabby, that they were opening that door to seeing what I see in them. The divineness, the goddesses in them, the incredible that they were able to create this vision, and now they have businesses. And all of you can do it. You saw Gabby has dealt with bullying. I dealt with being undocumented. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter what you overcame, like the limitations. You don't have the education. It just takes a decision. Today I want to open this. Today I want to start school here, this date. Just do it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You start your introduction of the book. I remember this as you were talking. You start your introduction with a definition, really, of Business Diva, and you say a Business Diva is resilient, persistent, courageous, witty, kind, and charming all at once, which is a lot of stuff. It's like to be all those things is really, really a lot. But what I think that kind of boils down to is that you really can't box it in. You can't say this is what a business diva. You have to be this in order to be a business diva. But it means so much that every person can relate to that. And I think there's still some level of femininity to it, I think, of being passionate, because like the masculine energy doesn't necessarily know how to bring that out as much. And so I think there's still that level of it in it, but it's so accessible to everyone that, you know, even no matter who you are, you can identify with being a business diva. I can identify with it because I can be passionate, I can be compassionate, I can be kind, I can be all those things. So even I, who identify as a male, can say, man, I want to be a business diva because there isn't this box of it anymore. Right. Gabriela, why don't you share with us when Martha came to you and said, I want you to be a part of this, what you thought and then sort of how that happened for you?
Well, it was a really nice experience. I'm actually in Today's Inspired Latina, Volume 8, and I had already wrote a story. And then I thought about, I'm like, okay, what am I going to say now?
Yeah.
Since I didn't put everything like what we covered earlier.
Yeah.
I didn't open up yet to a book and put it down in writing. But I'm like, oh, she's talking about my business, how I created the business. So when she came and asked me, we had a meeting and it felt really nice. I'm like, oh, it would be nice to have it, especially when she told me the diva, because it does go with the beauty, more like the external beauty.
Yeah.
And I'm like, diva business. I'm like, oh, okay, business, diva business. I'm like, oh, you know what? It's ringing on the bell. So I was one of the ones that did accepted the actual name of it.
Yeah.
Because I identify myself, because I see that goddess that she's mentioning.
Yeah.
I knew at first, I'm like, why would she choose something like this if this has nothing to do with beauty? Because a lot of people do, as women, sometimes we refer this and connect it to beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And diva, you see a person more like all put together. And a lot of people do not, like Martha says, do not value themselves as that, or they think that because I don't wear makeup, I don't wear heels, I don't wear a suit, I don't wear a dress, they think that they cannot be a diva. But it's more like the inside. We're talking about the inner beauty, your power as a person, as a woman, your empowerment. So to me, that's what the word, it was so empowering that I'm like, you know what, I want to be in it. So it actually, I think I told you yes right away. I think so, right? I think I was one of the ones that told her, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in. And I was in once I got there, but I loved it. I just thought that it went really well with what I do.
Yeah.
Well, I just kind of like owned that little part with whatever my brand is. And then I started when I wrote it, I kind of rewrote my same story from Today's Inspired Latina, but it was more developed and more transitioning into what my business is all about.
Yeah.
And I went in more in detail, on that.
Well, I'm glad that you did. Let's talk about the business a little bit, because some really good business advice in here as well. And I think that is equally as important to talk about, because Martha, your businesses really came about very differently. I do want to talk about your family business, Martha, and how you got involved with that. One thing I want to make sure that we cover, so I'll ask you about this, but you can also talk about the family business, is you mentioned in the book, if you want to understand how to build business, how to be a business person, you have to understand numbers. And as a mathematician, I'm guessing you love that. As a lay person, I hate it. So for people, if you can expand on that a little bit about what you meant about why it's important to understand numbers, and then how that helps you build your book of business.
Okay, so I love numbers. I mean, that's why I studied mathematics, right? It was mathematics or theater. And the theater school didn't want me. So numbers. I mean, when you think about businesses, there's two options in business. You keep growing your business, right? Or the second one, you grow it to sell it to an investor. But what is being considered in the growth? Growth translates to sales, profits. And what is that? Numbers. So you always have to go back to how you measure that growth. It's measurable. And there's certain metrics that, unfortunately, I came across many business owners, they don't know these measures. They don't know about a profit and loss. They don't know about budgets. They don't know about balance sheets. Like, they look at me like I'm talking Chinese, right? But if you don't understand that as a business owner, that's where you have to start. That's one of the very first things you have to do. And the investment. If you want to grow your business and sell it to an investor, what is an investor looking at? All those reports that I mentioned. So unfortunately, to those people who don't like numbers, I'm sorry. And let me tell you the reality. If you want to be very successful in business, I mean, anyone can have a business. But if you want it to last the 3-year mark that they say that you will you will not make it. If you want to make it through years of building this business and giving it to your family and leaving that generational wealth there, you have to look at your numbers, and you have to constantly be growing as a business owner, be growing your business, understanding your employees, and trying to measure how can you satisfy them, satisfy your clients, and just developing this better company, this better structure of business from a numbers perspective. And it really helped me. I'm going to go back to your family. For my family, I did not know business. I studied mathematics. So you can just think I am a person who understands theorems, theories, crazy like algorithms or differential equations. I know how to do that. So how does that relate to business? Well, I go into my father's company and I just worked in the warehouse. Like any of the guys. I was unplugging nails from boards, cutting wood. I was in there working like the guys. I learned how to use a forklift, so I'm forklift certified. So yes, I work in a man industry. You know, I don't have a lot of muscle, but it's in there.
It's in the brain.
I'm actually strong. It's, you just don't see them. So then I realized, like, I'm getting my bachelor's in math and statistics. I have to be more useful. So that's when my father told me, okay, here's the office. He shows me his office, and I'm like, ay, Dios mío, what did I get myself into? Because it was just, he had no bookkeeping system, nothing. It was just a book. It was a box of shoes with a bunch of receipts. I didn't know anything. I didn't know accounts payable, accounts receivable. But one time I looked at his bank account, and I'm like, you know, you're in negatives. And that's when he told me, well, that's why I have you. And that's when I'm like, holy macaroni, this is for real. He's expecting me to grow. I mean, to bring him from the negatives and do something about it. So that's when I bridged my numbers. I'm like, first I organized all the papers. I did QuickBooks. And then that's when I started to use my analysis skills in math, like my linear regression, the statistics. And that is when I was able to create proposals to banks and say, hey, we need financing for a better building. We need to grow our production. So I looked at all these numbers and had investors. And now where we are, we're a multi-million-dollar company, and we are nationwide. But it's the numbers. If you are looking for the next level, then you have to look at that.
Yeah, it's so important. All that knowledge and all that experience has now brought you to Solix Business Business Services, which is your consultancy arm there, I guess. It's your consultancy business that you have started. So are you sharing that information with other business owners who want to figure out how they can do the same for their companies?
Yes. So they want to learn how I did it. I have 2 ways that they can work with me. I've developed a course called The Power of Numbers. That's a 6-week course I give twice a year. This year will be July and probably September. And I teach business owners basically everything I did to grow our numbers and how to measure that. The second one is my consulting. So if you're a company and you're like, okay, I want to go to the next level, then I go into your company and I look at your numbers. I make no decision for you without looking at the data. And if there is more data that needs to be collected, I will post a question and the data that needs to be collected. And I can help with all of that. Because I also have a background in coding. So if you need even higher level cognitive work there, I do all of it. So.
Wow. Yeah, that's one-stop shop there.
Yeah, one-stop shop, because I also provide investing. So I help people, like if you want to invest and you're like, okay, where do I put my money? I can give you the crash course, and I can provide you with the resources.
That's amazing. It's really beautiful. Really amazing. Gabriela, I was really inspired by your story because one of the things that I learned when I was reading your story is that you weren't just like, I'm going to start a beauty company and did that. It actually, where you like had an interest in it, but it was like, well, you can't really do that. So you got to do something else that makes more sense first. And then maybe, but from what I understand, it wasn't like, I'm going to start a beauty company. It was like, well, you can't really make money in that. You need to make money, so figure out how to do that first. Tell us how like all this happened and about your company, how you were able to go from I got to go to school and get an education first to now being a business owner and just kind of blowing up and traveling all over the world to do this.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I was looking for first was to heal all my situation, my past life, and I needed to put myself together first. With an accounting and business degree, I was not happy. I actually was I was doing investing. I was actually one of the Northern Trust, well, a lot of like banks and financial institutions. I worked in 3 of them, and I was there for 17 years. One of the things that I did realize is that was not something that I was connecting to. But I think I was more in the search of like the healing part. And I did this since I was a little girl. I was very curious when I was a little girl. I love transformation, inside and out and on the outside. Anything that has to do with transformation, I was always really interested in. But once I decided, I was all glammed up going into like a business office. You could tell the difference because I always was all glammed up. and that's when I realized, and everybody will like make notice of it, and they tell me, you know what, why are you here? This you don't belong here. And then I'm like, well, I'm here in an investment company. So I loved it. It paid me well, but I was not happy. Right? So one of the things I decided, I think a dream leads you to a decision and then action. And that's when I decided that my hobby was turning into like a business, because everybody was recommending me. Like everyone from the office who got married or quinceañeras, weddings, Sweet 16, all kinds of these big events. I was always the one invited to do the hair. I would not charge in the beginning, but I enjoyed it so much. Yeah. Sometimes I found myself doing a lot of people. But I found on the way, every time that they sat on my chair, people had situations, emotional and all kinds of situations. So what I did was just one day, whatever worked for me, I wanted to share it with everyone else. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to open up just a salon to do hair and makeup or just to do hair or chemicals or whatever direction. Because, the beauty industry is like, it has a lot of branches. I decided to just do how my brand says, the art between the inner and outer beauty, and also explore and discover your inner beauty. Because if you find your inner beauty, then you can get empowered. You know what your value is, and you know what direction you want to take your life. So one of the things that I had all kinds of like talented people on my chair, but all of them had a story, and the story was destroyed. And I'm like, what is going on? That's when I started doing this program that actually teaches you everything that builds you inside and actually transcends on the outside. So doing this, I'm known as a makeup artist. I'm known as like a beauty expert or a beauty coach. But one of the main things a lot of people don't know is that I actually worked a lot on the inner beauty first. So I did some psychology classes. I also took NLP. I'm trying to translate it in English. An NLP certification, which actually tells you a lot about who you really are. Yeah. So then I took a lot of courses, spiritual courses that helped me, and that's how I put the two together, and that's how I've been helping a lot of people. And right now, then I International Society of Educators in Beauty reached out to me, and they offered me to be the director and representative from the U.S. So this is how everything came about traveling and also being hired to travel to the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. So I've been traveling a lot, but bringing all of these programs that I have put together that has helped many, and I invite a lot of the professionals out there, whoever is interested, to travel and to show your expertise and your talent. You can join us and travel with us, because we have so much to share about beauty. We do this on the external end, because this is more like the external with the association. But I also I'm working with a lot of people that are actually in the inner beauty, because there's a lot to do out there, and I put it on some of my stories of what I do. I'm actually putting everything what I do as meditations, as rituals, things that are going to empower you, help you take all of that baggage that sometimes limit you to make good decisions, and to find you and to find who you really are and what you really want to reach. And we're bilingual, so everyone's welcome. It doesn't matter what language you speak. I'm like, we'll make it work. We are energy, and we can connect, and we're here to make a difference in the world. So this is what I can tell you.
Yeah, it's so good. These 22 stories in here of female business leaders who are rocking it are amazing. We've had Jacqueline Camacho on the podcast before, and blew me away. We hope to have more of the ladies on, because I think these have been some of the most inspiring stories, and it really goes to show that anyone with a dream can really make it happen. And I think that is inspiring to anyone. So thank you so much for sharing those. Thank you for the book. Thank you for inviting these women to share their stories as well. We understand that part 2 is coming soon.
Yes, we have a tentative date for August 12th. That's my birthday.
Ooh.
So I'm planning a
Big day.
Yeah, I'm excited. So either San Diego, I'm gonna do 2, but I don't know which one's gonna go first. San Diego in California, and then one here in Chicago in a ranch. I want to do it in a ranch with horse riding, helicopters.
Wow.
Ooh.
Well, if we get an invite to that book launch, maybe we'll go check it out.
Yeah,
but
you're coming. You guys are all coming.
We had an amazing an event, right, for Business Divas. It was amazing. It was just like, I don't know. It's like getting married and having all these wedding events, right? I mean, more extreme. She went to extremes, and honestly, I enjoyed it. The book launch was amazing. So I can just imagine the next ones, because now you already got the first step in, huh? You already know what to do.
It was my first event. Like, I'm getting a lot of props saying that, wow, so now you're an event planner? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what business owning is like, is you just do everything that you can when you can.
It was perfect, though. It was amazing.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. If you want to hear more, if you want to read more, this is the place to do it. There are so many more stories of ladies just like Martha and Gabriela, who are doing amazing things, and we don't even know the most amazing things you're going to do, because they still are yet to come. So we look forward to that. Be looking out for Business Diva 2, which will be coming in August. So we're excited about that as well. If you want to get this book, you can look on Amazon. I was able to get it on the Amazon app, so it's out there for you to grab. We'll make sure to put their socials in wherever we put this episode, so that you can connect with them, but obviously they're here in the book as well. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Bridging Chicago podcast. Be sure to check out Business Diva on Amazon, and visit www.bridgingchicago.com to find other ways to connect with these business divas. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram, where our handle is @BridgingChicago, or you can search us on LinkedIn. But of course, you can visit www.bridgingchicago.com to find all the ways in one place. So thanks again for joining us, and ladies, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Bridging Chicago, as produced by the SATC Solutions Center. Nothing contained in this podcast shall constitute financial, investment, legal, and/or professional advice. No professional relationship of any kind is created between you and the podcast host or guest. You are urged to speak with your financial, investment, or legal advisors before making any investment or legal decisions. Furthermore, the opinions expressed in this podcast are not necessarily the opinions of SATC Solutions Center, SATC Law, or any of its employees. This podcast is created by the hosts and guests' individual capacities. All opinions on this podcast are or have been rendered based on specific facts, under certain conditions, and are subject to certain assumptions and may not and should not be used or relied upon for any other purpose, including, but not limited to, or use in or in connection with any investment purposes or legal proceeding.